DFW-FCA's Faith in Sports. I'm Chris Schneider. Welcome to the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes weekly radio show, Faith in Sports, brought to you by the DFW-FCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner. We have two legends from the football world joining us on the show today. One is one of the most famous quarterbacks in the history of the game, Roger Staubach. The other, one of the most famous coaches in the history of the game, Bobby Bowden. Roger Staubach will be one of the headline speakers at the upcoming DFW-FCA 50th Anniversary Dinner, November 20th.
It's always fun getting together, and whether you see, Leroy or Chuck, or I see Drew Pearson or Tony Dorsett or any of these guys. It brings back. We didn't have a losing season. Unfortunately, we didn't win as many Super Bowls as we'd like. But Coach Landry had a 20-year streak of winning, which is pretty darn good. And so there's good memories. If we would have lost all those years, I don't think we'd like each other. But we won enough that we like each other. And we get together and now and then, and there's good memories.
More from the great Roger Staubach momentarily. Also joining us on the show today, one of the greatest college football coaches of all time, Bobby Bowden, will bring us this week's 50th Anniversary Classic Moment.
Talking to mothers who didn't have a husband and raising a son, Coach, what can I tell my boy to make him to be successful? I said, tell him to get his priorities in order. Make God his number one priority. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, you tell your son don't do anything if he don't think God wants him to do it. If you going out with the boys at night or going somewhere, ask God, is it okay for you to go? You got a conscience. You'll know right from wrong.
More from Bobby Bowden a bit later on with the 50th Anniversary Classic Moment. The Fellowship of Christian Athletes is one of the largest sports ministries in the world. The leader of the DFW-FCA, Rick Bowles, will join us today to tell us how the Fellowship of Christian Athletes is growing in North Texas.
About 2 years ago, we were reaching about 13,000 middle school through college age student athletes through our ministry. This year, that number hit 16,000. And I think what's happening is we're getting FCA into more schools. But I think what's happening is these students are hungry. There's a lot going on in the world as we know it. Just imagine having a football, baseball, basketball coach, drill down, and really the coach that means the most is the coach that really wants to help that kid out too. It's not just about the sport.
More from the leader of the DFW-FCA shortly. Be sure to join us for DFW-FCA SMU Game Day. October 22nd, SMU will play Houston at Ford Stadium. Former Dallas Cowboy Aiken Adell will be speaking. Go to dfwfca.org to get all the information and details. Our featured guest on the show today is a living legend, both in football and in the business world. Just about every football fan has heard of Roger Staubach. Roger won the Heisman Trophy at Navy in 1963, then did a tour in Vietnam before joining the Dallas Cowboys. He led the boys to 5 Super Bowls, and after retiring from football, Roger started a commercial real estate business that became hugely successful. Staubach will be headlining a group of Cowboy greats as the featured guests at the upcoming DFW-FCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner. Roger, thank you so much for joining us here on the show today. So let's start off talking about your time in college at the Naval Academy. What do you remember about your Heisman Trophy winning season in 1963?
Well, the thing that was the most important, at the end of my sophomore year, which is called your youngster year at the Naval Academy, we really poured it on as a good team. We almost beat Southern Cal. They were national champions that year. They beat us. We lost, I think, 13-6 out in the Coliseum, and then we beat Army in a big win. And so we had a lot of momentum going into that 1963 season, and we just had a great year. We were 9-1. We lost to SMU on a Friday night, 32-28. They were a good team back then, and they've had some good teams. And then we lost to actually Texas in the Cotton Bowl. We were the number 2 team in the country. So I had a good year, but our team had a really good year. So it was a team effort. Actually, my teammates, we still get together. The captain of our team is retired Admiral Tom Lynch, and he gets us together every 5 years. And they are proud of. They all say they won the Heisman, and they did. they were proud to have a Heisman guy on the team. But it just turned out I had a good season, and we had a great team. And we beat Notre Dame, we beat Michigan, we beat Pittsburgh. Was only they only lost one game. That was so we just had a really good year, and the Heisman became part of it.
Not many patsies on that schedule with those wins that you reeled out.
We had a very tough schedule. Yeah.
So, and I believe I read it was that same year. I think it was your Heisman year where you were diagnosed as colorblind. Is that true?
Well, my plebe year, they recognized I had a problem. I passed a color test. I'm partially colorblind. I don't know what that means. I know all the colors. I just haven't associated the names with them yet or something. I don't So I've missed on some of the tests and some of those numbers deals. I can see 5 real easy, then all of a sudden the next one just looks like a bunch of dots, and I can't read it. But I passed to get in the academy for some reason. But my plebe year, they knew right away. When I took my test there, my physical, they said, I think you can get wavered in there now, but back then I would not have got in if they really would have recognized how bad it was a modest. I wasn't totally colorblind, but I definitely had what males have today sometimes, and so I was limited to what I could do when I graduated. So I became a supply logistics officer when I graduated. So
did you ever notice that on the football field? Seeing different jerseys?
Every time I threw an interception, I blamed it on being colorblind. No, I really. I can tell today sometimes dark colors. If it's dark, it just looks dark. It might be dark green or blue, but I can see the basic colors. So I never really noticed until I looked at those numbers. That's what was really weird. My friend would be looking and say, "Oh, you can't read that. That's 1 and 2 there." And I said, "Well, I can." So if it didn't, if the dots didn't fall into place right, I couldn't read the number. So that really I couldn't. That's when I really knew there was a problem.
More with Dallas Cowboys great Roger Staubach in just a few minutes, and then Bobby Bowden will bring us this week's 50th anniversary classic moment. We would love to connect with you. You can find us on Facebook at DFWFCA. You can find us on Twitter at FCADFW, and of course our website is dfwfca.org. This is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes weekly radio show, Faith in Sports, brought to you by the DFWFCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner.
DFWFCA offers you the chance to have dinner with 4 of the greatest Dallas Cowboys of all time. Captain Comeback Roger Staubach will be holding court with some of them.
Dan was a great coach. He was a lot like Coach Landry. Very good X and O guys. And Bob Lilly's the best of the best. And Bob Bruning became a fantastic linebacker and was my roommate. So it's always fun getting together, and whether you see Leroy or Chuck, or I see Drew Pearson or Tony Dorsett or any of these guys.
Join us for our 50th anniversary dinner celebration with Staubach, Reeves, Lilly, and Brunick. You'll kick yourself if you miss it. Go to dfwfca.org for all the information.
Situated on 330 acres of beautiful natural landscape with facilities to accommodate groups up to 1,000, Lakeview Camp and Retreat Center is the ideal place to schedule your next event. Whatever your group's goals are, Lakeview aims to meet your needs, providing year-round service facilities for retreats, conferences, camps, corporate meetings, outdoor education outings, school events, and family gatherings. Our friendly staff is committed to making your stay a great experience. Come to Lakeview Camp and Retreat Center and enjoy state-of-the-art facilities, activities that engage and rejuvenate, comfortable lodging, and great food in a setting that inspires the awe of the greatness of God. To learn more about this scenic location for your next event, visit us online today.
For more information, visit lakeviewcamp.net.
At FCA, we're touching millions one heart at a time. Since 1954, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes has been putting the heart and soul in sports by challenging athletes and coaches to impact the world for Jesus Christ. As the largest sports ministry in the world, FCA now reaches over 2 million people annually on the professional, college, high school, junior high, and youth levels. Through this shared passion for athletics and faith, lives are changed, one heart at a time. Learn more at fca.org.
Welcome back to DFW-FCA's Faith in Sports, brought to you by the DFW-FCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner. We will continue our conversation with Cowboys great Roger Staubach momentarily. Bobby Bowden will provide the 50th Anniversary Classic moment. If the Lord is leading you to be a part of the DFW-FCA team, then we would love to have you help us spread the news of Christ. Doesn't matter if you're a parent, a business leader, church leader, school administrator, coach, teacher, anyone really who might be interested in making a difference in your community. FCA offers a whole lot of opportunities to serve, so go to dfwfca.org for all the details. Our featured guest here on Faith in Sports today is Roger Staubach, a living legend, of course, in the NFL, especially with Dallas Cowboy fans. So, Roger, you and former teammates Bob Lilly, Dan Reeves, and Bob Brunig are going to be the featured speakers at the upcoming DFW-FCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner. That's November 20th. It's going to be a celebration for FCA, of course, but it's kind of going to be a celebration of sorts for the Cowboys.
It really is. Dan was he was a player coach there for a while, and so he then became kind of a quarterback coach towards the end of my career. And Coach Landry, before, he would be on the sidelines, and we didn't really have a quarterback coach per se, and so I'd come off on the sidelines, and now he's worried about the defense. So I'm thinking, who am I going to talk to here? So when Dan became Dan was a great coach. I mean, he was a lot like Coach Landry, and they're very, very good X and O guys. And Bob Lilly is the best of the best, and Bob Bruning became a fantastic linebacker and was my roommate. So it's always fun getting together, and whether you see Leroy or Chuck, or I see Drew Pearson or Tony Dorsett or any of these guys, it brings back. We didn't have a losing season. Unfortunately, we didn't win as many Super Bowls as we'd like, but Coach Landry had a 20-year streak of winning, which is pretty darn good, and so there's good memories. If we would have lost all those years, I don't think we'd like each other. But we won enough that we like each other. And we get together and now and then, and there's good memories.
I asked Bob Lilly, I said, are you guys going to have fun? And he said, oh, of course, Bob Lilly. He said, I said, are you going to tell some Roger Staubach stories? And he said, oh, I can tell you a story right now. And so he was telling me about he and Walt Garrison whittling and chewing, and you walk out and you decide you want to have a chew with them, and boy, he just spent the next 15 minutes laughing. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it was really, and we were in before a meeting that we were going to have, a players meeting, and I'm sitting with Walt, and Walt gives me some of his snuff, and so I, want to show want to be one of the guys, right, and yeah. I put it in my mouth and I started chewing on it, and then Coach Landry comes in, the meeting gets started, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I start feeling this. I mean, I was getting sick, and first of all, now I'm starting to sweat. In the sweat, I mean, my desk, we're at desk, we were in a classroom out in Thousand Oaks, and I just started dripping sweat down on the desk, and then I got so sick that I was going to vomit. So I ran out the doors. I mean, the doors are right over there. And Coach Landry said, what's going on? And I go and barf and Walt said, hey, Coach, I'm sorry. I gave Roger some of my snuff. So I come walking back in, everybody's laughing, and Coach Landry just looked at me and he said to Walt, don't ever give him any more. No, I remember that was like yesterday. It was I don't know how do you take that stuff? I mean, I had one crack at it and I'm almost died. I felt so bad. I mean, I barfed all over the outside the door there. I would have barfed on my desk there. Really, all of a sudden, I just got sick as a dog, and so I guess you get used to it or something. I don't know. That's the only time I've ever tried it.
I asked Lilly his favorite Cowboy, and he said, well, I have to say Garrison because I roomed with him, But do you have a favorite Cowboy, whether you played with or didn't play with over the years?
Well, I know there's so many guys that I like. I kid Walt all the time. I said, Walt, who's your favorite quarterback? Of course it's Don Meredith, Roger. Who do you think? And they said, no, it's you. And I said, I know. So I had a chance. I was really on like two different teams. I mean, when I joined the Cowboys in '69, Don retired. I mean, Don Meredith was one heck of a quarterback. So I'm now back up to Craig Morton. So Craig, this is his first start. So Bob Lilly and all those guys were part of that, the Green Bay Packer, the expansion team, and becoming a winning team. And then, so I got a chance in '71 when we won our first Super Bowl. Craig and I battled back and forth, and it could have gone either way. But fortunately, I got a chance to start, and so we won a Super Bowl with that team. And then we had a whole new deal with starting in '75. We a lot of those guys retired. Then we got Randy White and Tony Hill, and of course Drew was coming into his own, and Dorsett. They go down with all the linemen too, all the great players we had. So I really feel privileged that we won a Super Bowl. I think there's only 3 or 4 of us on the second Super Bowl team that were on the first team. So I feel more that team was my team. I felt like the other team, like that was Don Meredith's team that I got a chance to quarterback, and it really was. I mean, they all. I mean, Don Meredith, the guys loved Don Meredith, and he's still only 31 years old and retired. Yeah. I mean, really, if he doesn't retire, we're not sitting here. I don't know. I would have been with it. I don't know where I would have been. Another team.
Another team. Hard to think of Roger Staubach as anything but a Dallas Cowboy, isn't it? Roger, thank you so much for your time and your amazing stories. We look forward to hearing more of those at the DFW FCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner. As if one Football Hall of Famer wasn't enough, we will be joined by another in just a couple of minutes. Bobby Bowden brings us the 50th Anniversary Classic moment in just a bit. Is God calling you to serve alongside a middle school or a high school coach in your area? DFW FCA is excited to announce our Character Coaching Initiative. Go to dfwfca.org and get all the information. This is the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes weekly radio show, Faith in Sports, brought to you by the upcoming DFW FCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner.
Mark your calendar for the biggest event of the season. You are invited to dinner with Roger Staubach, Dan Reeves, Bob Brunig, and this guy, Mr. Cowboy, Bob Lilly. Sounds like a lot of fun, Bob.
It really does. I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, Dan and Roger and Brunig are all dear friends of mine, and FCA is a dear friend of mine as well, and I'm really looking forward to it.
You think you and Roger and Dan and Bob can come up with any stories?
There's no question. I can come up with one on Roger real fast.
You don't want to miss that story. It's the DFW FCA 50th Anniversary Dinner Celebration, November 20th at the Irving Convention Center. Registration and information at dfwfca.org.
In 1966, Coach Tom Landry had the inspiration to start the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Dallas. This year, Dallas-Fort Worth FCA is celebrating God's amazing impact on coaches and athletes during our 50th anniversary. Over 16,000 students and athletes are involved with FCA in North Texas. Nearly 500 coaches and teachers volunteer their time to influence student athletes. Visit dfwfca.org for more information, including how you can pick up some one-of-a-kind 50th anniversary products like caps, shirts, coffee mugs, and more.
Fields of Faith.
It's time for this generation to lead.
Students are ready to challenge each other.
The movement of God is happening.
And it's happening in communities like yours.
One day.
One message.
One stand.
We are sharing our faith.
And we are reading God's Word.
We are sharing what God has done in our lives.
We are filling stadiums by the hundreds.
And by the thousands. We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are Fields of Faith.
Every year, across the country, Fields of Faith.
I'm Chris Schneider. Welcome back to DFW FCA's Faith in Sports, brought to you by the DFW FCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner. College football coaching legend and Hall of Famer Bobby Bowden will bring us the 50th Anniversary Classic moment in just a few minutes. You can look great and help support DFW FCA at the same time. Check out our 50th anniversary gear. We're talking about great gifts, some beautiful clothing, amazing accessories. Go to dfwfca.org. Look for the FCA store. We're joined now by the leader of FCA in North Texas, Rick Bowles. Now, Rick, I was just on the DFW FCA website and saw some pretty impressive numbers of growth for your ministry in North Texas. Tell us about that.
Every fall and spring, we reach out to our volunteer coaches who oversee our huddles, the before and after school Bible clubs that we have. And so we get feedback from them And we are able to come up with some pretty solid numbers. And about 2 years ago, we were reaching about 13,000 middle school through college age student athletes through our ministry. This year, that number hit 16,000. And I think what's happening is I think we're getting FCA into more schools. But I think what's happening is these students are hungry. There's a lot going on in the world as we know it. Just imagine having a football, baseball, basketball coach, drill down and really the coach that means the most is the coach that really wants to help that kid out too. It's not just about the sport. But you got a coach that really wants you to do well, wants to win, but then goes into the classroom before after school and says, hey, I'm not your coach here, I'm your friend. And I want to help bring you knowledge, spiritual knowledge. And those kids react to that. And then they talk to their peers and say, hey, we need to go to FCA today. We need to be a part of this. And I think that at the end of the day, there's a spiritual hunger among our student athletes. And so we're seeing growth.
There is so much respect for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and worldwide, certainly in the United States, but certainly in North Texas too. I mean, you've had two large golf tournaments this year, the Tom Landry Open and the Jim Sundberg Golf Classic. And some huge sports names show up to these things. That's got to feel good that you're getting the support from some major athletes.
It does, and FCA reaches the professional athlete and the retired athlete. And I think what that does is it just brings some credibility. If these guys weren't involved, we could still do FCA. But we are blessed when they take time to come and be a part of a golf tournament, or like the dinner that's coming up with the four Cowboy legends that's going to spend an evening with us. They don't have to do that. I mean, they're busy. But those four guys, for example, Bob Lilly, Roger Staubach, Dan Reeves, and Bob Brunig, were impacted by Coach Landry and his walk, and they were impacted by FCA. They have been involved with FCA in some level or another all these years. And we're a platform. We use sports as a platform to present the gospel. And athletes of all levels get that, or many of them do. And so the pro athlete, when they see themselves as a role model and have an opportunity to give back, we're blessed that many of them do that.
Give us a little glimpse behind the scenes. You get huge names like Staubach and Lilly and Brunig and Dan Reeves, coming up at the 50th anniversary dinner. How do you do that? I mean, do you have to talk them into it? Are they happy to do it? How does that work behind the scenes?
Some of it is a face-to-face meeting and building a relationship just like anything else. And some of it is just, thankfully, the FCA name means a lot. And that's all to God's glory. I mean, there's humans involved, so we know what that means, right? But nationally, we're on our 63rd year, I believe, and locally, we're in our 50th year. And so God's blessed this ministry and given it favor. And sometimes it's just sending an email. Sometimes it's just calling saying, this is what we're doing. Would you like to give back? And because of the history of their involvement in the past and hopefully our good name, many of them are willing to jump in and help.
So when is this dinner, and how do people go to it? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to go see Roger Staubach and Bob Lilly and Dan Reeves and Bob Brunig talking about their Cowboy days and Tom Landry and all that.
It is November the 20th at the Irving Convention Center. It's all on our website at dfwfca.org. It is a fundraiser, and it is a celebration of the past, the legacy, and also we're going to cast a vision for the future. So all those combined, we will have tickets. You can buy one individual ticket, or you can buy a table sponsorship. So that's really how you can do it. I mean, it's on our website. It's real simple to decide what level of involvement you want to be a part of. I am excited this year. We're launching the first ever Alicia Landry Coach's Wife Impact Award. And so we'll get to do that. We get to highlight the male and the female huddle coach of the year. And Neil Jeffrey is a local pastor, and his father was actually the president of FCA way back. And Neil has been a great volunteer. And we launched about 6 years ago a volunteer leadership award in his name. So we'll give that out to a local volunteer as well. It's just a fun night. We honor coaches. We typically have called this the Coaches Appreciation Dinner because it's our 50th. We've kind of changed that, but we're still going to. We have sponsors that pay for coaches and their spouses. And we'll have several hundred coaches and spouses that can come for free as a thank you. These are people who have volunteered. So you've got that going on, and you got the community coming together and saying, hey, we're going to support this because it is a fundraiser. And yet those who come want to just be a part and see what God's doing with FCA. And we give a lot of testimony of what God's doing.
DFWFCA.org. And how do folks get in touch with you if they want to talk to the big guy at FCA?
You can email me at rbowles, BOWLES, at FCA.org.
That's Rick Bowles, leader of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in North Texas. Thank you, sir. Time now for the 50th Anniversary Classic Moment, delivered this week by a college football coaching legend, Bobby Bowden. He tells us how his belief in Jesus affected everything he did, even on the recruiting trail.
I would tell them, and I've used this many times, talking to mothers who didn't have a husband and raised a son. Coach, what can I tell my boy to make him to be successful? I said, tell him to get his priorities in order. Make God his number one priority. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, you tell your son, don't do anything if he don't think God wants him to do it. If you're going out with the boys at night or going somewhere, ask God, is it okay for you to go? You got a conscience. You'll know right from wrong, you know. And then your second priority is your mom, your family. Before you do anything, is it okay with your family? If it's not, don't do it. If it's okay, go ahead and do it. You're okay, you know. And then after your God and family, then to me comes your education. Get your education. It's not football. Football comes down around 4th or 5th or somewhere, you know. But you got to get your priorities in order.
The great Bobby Bowden with this week's 50th Anniversary Classic Moment. Thank you, Coach. Do you get tired of hearing all the bad news? We'll get some good news. Subscribe to FCA Magazine to read interviews with some of the greatest coaches and athletes in the world, people like Stephon Curry and Steve Alford, among many, many others. So subscribe to FCA Magazine today at fca.org. Coming up next, we'll tell you about 2 more Football Hall of Famers who will be joining us here on the show next week. This is DFW-FCA's Faith in Sports, brought to you by the DFW-FCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner.
Did you ever imagine you would be invited to dinner with Roger Staubach, Bob Lilly, Dan Reeves, and Bob Brunig? With God, anything is possible, right? The DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes invites you to join them for their 50th anniversary celebration dinner at the Irving Convention Center. Early bird tickets are on sale now, and tickets will go fast, so go to DFWFCA.org to make sure you have a seat. It'll be a night of fantastic Dallas Cowboys stories, trips to the Super Bowl, playing for Tom Landry, serving Christ, and the joy of touching lives with the FCA. So knock something big off your bucket list by having dinner with Staubach, Lilly, Reeves, and Brunig. Go to DFWFCA.org for all the details.
Did you know that after a trip to an FCA sports camp in Estes Park, Colorado in 1962, Dallas Cowboys coach Tom Landry felt inspired to use his position as a coach to influence young student athletes. So in 1966, 50 years ago, Coach Landry helped launch the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Dallas. Hi, I'm Rick Bowles, North Texas Director for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I'd like to ask you to tell us your FCA story. What impact did FCA have or is currently having on your life? Visit DFWFCA.org for more information.
I'm Chris Schneider. Thank you for joining us for DFW-FCA's Faith in Sports radio show, brought to you by the upcoming DFW-FCA 50th Anniversary Celebration Dinner. Our thanks to our special guests today, Roger Staubach and Bobby Bowden. I'm Chris Schneider, the Sports and Spirit Speaker. You can find me at radioactivespeaking.com. Godly messages with stories from the greatest coaches and athletes of all time. Find me, the Sports and Spirit Speaker, at radioactivespeaking.com. Next week, we will be joined by 2 more legendary names in the football world. Another Dallas Cowboy great, Dan Reeves, and University of Nebraska coaching great, Tom Osborne. Guests scheduled to join us in future weeks include Bob Lilly, Bob Brunig, Mike Singletary, Herschel Walker, Cliff Harris, and many others. FCA's Faith in Sports is an outreach of DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes, hosted and produced by me, Chris Schneider. Executive producer is Rick Bowles. For information on DFW-FCA, contact Rick at rbowles, that's RBOWLES, at FCA.org. And remember this week to do all that you do unto the Lord Jesus Christ. God bless you from the DFW Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Faith in Sports.